At the New Jersey SBDC Network, our mission is simple: to help businesses grow and succeed. Our consulting, training, and information services make it easier for businesses to reach their potential. Whether you're currently in operation or just starting out, we have the right tools, resources, and expertise to help you succeed. Visit us online to get started on your path to success today.
A pleasant good afternoon to everyone. My name is Takoa Bell. I am an event coordinator for the NJSBDC at Rutgers-Newark, and on behalf of Dr. Tendai Ndoro, the regional director, I would like to welcome you all to our Navigating the Online Marketplaces Where to Start webinar. For those of you here that are unfamiliar with the SBDC, it stands for Small Business Development Centers, and here at the New Jersey Small Business Development Centers at Rutgers-Newark, we serve as the premier provider of business training and technical assistance services to establish small businesses, startups, as well as entrepreneurs. And we are one of 12 centers in the NJSBDC network, and we service those in Essex County. Our center is hosted by the Rutgers Business School and funded through a public-private partnership agreement between the Small Business Administration, Rutgers University, and as well as the New Jersey Business Action Center. Our mission is to help entrepreneurs as well as business owners start and grow sustainable, successful businesses through the delivery of one-on-one business consulting, training, and technical assistance programs. Now, these services are provided to you at no cost and are paid for by your tax dollars. If you or your business is located in Essex County, our website is www.rnsbdc.com. It should be on the slide, where you can request counseling. And on the top right-hand corner of our site, there's a button labeled Request Counseling. Clicking on that button will lead you to fill out information, including the help you are seeking. And within 24 to 48 hours, a consultant will reach out to you for an assessment. For those of you that are not in Essex County, our other website is www.njsbdc.com. And on this website, you can type in your county and it will refer you to your local SBDC office. For the benefit of everyone attending today's webinar, the audio has been muted and we will be taking questions via the Q&A feature here on Zoom. We do have the chat feature on, but the Q&A feature will help us to remain organized and have the questions and answers in one designated area. So feel free to post your questions and we will do our best to respond during or at the end of the webinar. A copy of the presentation slides, along with a video recording of this webinar, will be emailed to you within 48 to 72 business hours of the end of this presentation. So you can refer to this information long after the end of this webinar. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you our presenter for today's presentation, Ahmed Akdag. Ahmed is the CEO and owner of Steyermont and is an SBDC consultant here at the NJSBDC at Rutgers-Newark in the areas of e-commerce, self-hosted and marketplaces, online strategic planning, and supply chain sourcing. Now, without further ado, I will now turn today's presentation over to Ahmed.
Thank you, Takoa. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining the webinar. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the presentation now. So this presentation will essentially be a top-level primer for e-commerce and different paths that you might have in the e-commerce marketplaces, the e-commerce environment. You might have some experience in some of these areas. You might be starting from scratch. So the entire point of this is so you have a full picture of everything that can be done within e-commerce at a broad level. So obviously, starting with the definition of e-commerce, essentially it means any kind of goods or services offered through an online medium. This can be business-to-business services. This could be business-to-business products, and the same situation for business to consumer. There is also a third one called distributed to consumer, which is essentially the same as B2C, but in this case, you're either the manufacturer or you are a distributor who is now looking to move from traditional wholesale model to selling online, either the same way or through selling directly to the customers. Some examples that many of you are probably familiar with: Amazon, Home Depot, Walmart, eBay, Overstock, and Wayfair. There are some common requirements nowadays to do e-commerce. In the past, it was a bit more flexible. And while some of these might not apply to certain types of e-commerce business models, it's generally good to have these on hand, regardless of which type of e-commerce you will be doing. So high quality product content is vital because customers can't see the products physically. So the way that you are able to describe and show it to them, whether it's with images or videos. In fact, now they're also having a lot of augmented reality where person can open it on their phone and then pick a furniture item and then they can see how it looks in their room. So those kind of technologies developing because when customers shop online, it's a different experience. So having that content as best as possible and using the customer feedback is valuable for any type of e-commerce. GS1 UPC barcodes, they're vital because a lot of online marketplaces require them now. It used to be something that was optional, but now it is a requirement, and they do check to make sure that you actually have a GS1 UPC barcode for your business. And you and the GS1 is the company that provides the UP certain types of products where it might not make much sense. Usually custom made products and handmade, custom made. Those, because they're not like a traditional item, those do have exceptions. But in most cases, for most products, you will need a UPC barcode to do business with many online marketplace and retailers. And then the other aspects are traditional business matters, but in an e-commerce context. Inventory is always important. You always want to make sure that you minimize the amount of time you're out of stock, because out of stock means no sales during that duration. Marketing and advertising will eventually become something to put more consideration into once everything else has been settled on the marketplaces, whether it's your own website or whether it's through a marketplace like Amazon or an online retailer that you supply like Home Depot. And then a company website, even if you're going to be selling on site like Amazon direct, you're going to be selling on Amazon as a seller, or you might have become a supplier for Home Depot. Having a company website is important. Even if you don't plan on actually selling products through your website, having the products there and having a website describing your brand, describing your products is valuable, because a lot of these online marketplace and retailers, they do tend to check your website. They do ask for it. Sometimes they'll say it's optional, but generally speaking, anybody who puts it in, they will go check that website out. And customers, as they get familiar with their product, they like to be able to go look at your brand website. They start searching you up. And in the future, when you start working on marketing and advertising, it helps to have a website where you have full control over how you present your products and how you present your brands, because certain marketplaces will have restrictions on the ways that you can present content and the type of content. So having your own website where you have full control over how you are going to present your products or your services is generally always a positive thing, because that just gives you the most flexibility in introducing and marketing your products. So the three types of platforms that I split the e-commerce marketplace out into, environment out into, is essentially self-hosted, marketplace, and supplier slash vendor, because they tend to use both terms in some markets. Self-hosted is the most straightforward. It's basically everything you do yourself. You're selling on your own website. You're in control of that website. You're in control of bringing traffic in, listing the products, maintaining the inventory, handling the orders. There will be lots of services that you can pay for that will help in this process. If you're already doing online e-commerce, you might be familiar with a company called ShipStation, for example, or Stamps. These services provide shipping services, so you're able to get labels for the shipping the products. So there's all these different services out there that you can benefit from. But when self-hosted, that essentially means that you're in full control of your entire e-commerce business. you're putting in the content in your own in your own website. You might be formatting your website yourself. You might hire a designer. You might use a template that the website that you use provides. But essentially, everything is fully under your control. What tends to be the most difficult part in this is the traffic, because if you're starting your website from zero, basically, you do need to bring in customer traffic, and that requires both search engine optimization as well as various types of marketing to build up that traffic. But to note, you don't have to you don't have to restrict yourself to either one of these options. There are companies that do all three at once, so it depends on your overall strategy and your resources and which method you want to commit to. But you're not restricted to one of these. You can always mix and match and try to leverage them to help. A common combination is essentially someone has a self-hosted website where they sell products, but they also list their products on marketplaces because it allows Amazon has its traffic, for example. People already visit the website. It allows that traffic to also find your website and visit your website. There's no guarantee that a buy, but you get some of that additional traffic boost, because when people search your product, they'll start seeing it on the other websites, on other marketplaces. So the marketplace is where you sell your products through an online marketplace. That's something more like Amazon, eBay. Well, Walmart has a marketplace model. You list your product, you sell your product. It's shipped and sold by you, unless in the case they have a fulfillment service. What happens is that you just pay the shipping, you pay the marketplace a referral fee, you pay a subscription fee depending on what the marketplace is. I think for Amazon, the professional fee is $39.99 a month. But after that, they let you use their platform, their reporting, their inventory. Amazon does have a shipping aspect built in too, so you're able to buy labels through the Amazon seller platform. But essentially, you're not selling to Amazon, you're selling to customers who are visiting the Amazon marketplace, and then Amazon is taking a share of the listing fee. So whatever you're selling it at, they're taking a percentage plus any other additional fees they charge. This model is popular because you don't need to worry about building a website or anything like that. This lets you immediately focus on selling your products, and all you're responsible for is managing your inventory and they give you tools to do marketing. So you have a lot of tools to use. You don't have to build anything out yourself, but there are fees that you have to pay when you're using it. And some marketplaces do offer additional services. So Amazon's popular FBA, for example, lets you ship your products to their warehouse, and then they ship to customers in a 2-day for any Prime customer. So that is something that they offer as well. That's still in the marketplace model, but that's basically some additional features that marketplaces can give. And we'll be going over some of the marketplaces and some of the features that they have. And then the supplier vendor one is a bit of a traditional aspect. So it is a traditional business model in that you are selling to that retailer. In this case, Home Depot. Home Depot doesn't have a marketplace. Home Depot is the customer, and the way it works is that when you apply to become a supplier to Home Depot with a product that they might be interested in, you fill out all the contracts, you fill in the requirements, they'll ask for insurance, you fill out all that paperwork, and then when you list your products on their site, what happens is that they list it at a price that they decide on, and you can suggest to them, so you can give them the MSRP, but they set the actual sell price because you only give them a cost that you're going to sell to them for. And then whenever a customer orders, Home Depot essentially pays you the cost of that product that you charge for, and then you drop ship to their customer. So Home Depot doesn't hold the products that are listed on the site. What it does is that if someone orders from the website, they send you the order and then you ship it to the customer. So in this case, you are still shipping to a customer, but your business relationship is that technically Home Depot is buying it from you and then they're having you drop ship to their customers. So this process tends to have some opportunities to sell in bulk and larger quantities as you build a relationship with that retailer. And they tend to offer a bit of additional benefits since it's considered like a business relationship. But the process is time consuming. You do have to speak with buyers. You do need to get them interested. There's going to be negotiations on prices. There's going to be a lot of back and forth, but it lets you have a bit more leeway in regards to how much more you can grow the business relationship with them, because as your business grows, you do get various opportunities with these retailers, in the sense of getting like private label options, where they'll if they're interested in having one of your products brought into or their brand, and whatever the brand they have applicable for that, that's an option. Sometimes they'll have like a direct import where they'll actually order container loads or truckloads to their warehouses. And in the case where you're working with a retailer who also has physical stores, brick and mortar, there's also potential where you can have discussions to also put your products in their stores. So it's a hybrid model. It is generally focused on e-commerce first. So if you do apply to become a supplier on their online sales and sell your product through e-commerce, that's where they'll start you off from. But if the business relationship builds up, you do have a lot of opportunity to grow it out. And since it's a business relationship, you are speaking back and forth with some kind of account manager or a buyer or a partner contact. There's going to be someone physical at that company, at that retailer, that you will be speaking with to grow your business. Let's see. So starting with Amazon, this is a bit of a summary, but essentially Amazon is still the largest online e-commerce site in terms of customer traffic. They receive considerable amounts of traffic. A lot of people visit their website, and Amazon tends to be the site that people also compare with. So anyone searching products anywhere else will often always come back to Amazon to search if they can find a better deal there. Amazon does have a B2B component, but it's basically a copy of their B2C with a few additional features put in. So it's a bit limited, but they do have a B2B section of their platform set up for anyone who might want to sell in bulk, because what they usually offer is, if someone has a business account on Amazon, they'll be able to see the B2B offers, and the B2B offers are usually a volume discount. So you would set up your product, have a volume discount, where if purchase 100, this much percent off, and then business buyers would be able to see that and purchase it that way, whereas a regular buyer would not get that kind of discount. So they would have to use something else, whether it's a sale or a coupon. Um, the benefit of Amazon, it's a straightforward application to onboard as a seller. The process has become a bit more difficult over the last year or so, as Amazon has been having to combat counterfeits and a lot of scam drop shippers and stuff like that. So as a security measure, the process has gotten a bit more stringent. It used to be a lot easier in the past, where you would essentially set up the account and then pick the plan. There's an individual plan that's free, and then there's a professional plan that's $39.99. But now it's you do get to create the account, you pick the plan, but then you have to provide certain paperwork, certain verification processes. But it's still, compared to other marketplaces, it's still a pretty straightforward process. It's not there isn't that supplier model process where you have to wait a few days and negotiate. There's just additional verifications that are incorporated. Another thing to note is that business accounts are also restricted only to the professional plan. So if you are setting it up as a business account, they won't give you the individual option to choose from, but you are able to create an individual account separate to maybe take a look at Amazon, or maybe you're not planning on doing it as a full business, but you just want to sell some products that come into your hand as as an individual. But if you do choose to do it as a business, you do have to go with the professional account. Like I had mentioned, the fees are the account fees, which is based on the plan, and then referral fee, which is a percentage of the listing price based on the category. Different categories have different percentages, but you can assume that the average will likely be 15% of the price that you are selling the product. That tends to be kind of the average amount. Some categories are lower, some are higher, but 15% is what you can assume to be the average when you want to consider how much they're going to take as a referral fee. And then there are additional fees if you use any of their additional services. So fulfillment by Amazon will have some extra fees involved, shipping it to their warehouse. They have a pick and pack fee, and then they have a long-term storage fee where if inventory is in their warehouse for a certain period of time, they start charging a fee because of their housing the product in their warehouse. So that is something that comes up. But their fees are all written, so you are able to see all the details ahead of time. And in fact, we're going to go over some tools that you can use for Amazon. Here's just an image of their front page. It'll always change, but essentially, these are some of the notes here. Amazon, the three things I want to point out is Amazon has a Seller Central, which is the main hub for selling on their marketplace. Fulfilled by Amazon is an FBA program that's part of Seller Central that you can apply for. And then Vendor Central is something that you might not really hear about, but it's essentially their their supplier business model relationship. It's invite only. You can't apply to it. In the past, there used to be a alternative route, but now it's fully invite only. And the way it usually works is that if you are doing good business on Amazon with a product and you are having either high sales or high sales traction or high sales revenue, that will trigger Amazon to consider flagging your product and your company for consideration to Vendor Central. This is usually done through an automated process. So their bot will browse through the data and then flag companies in certain categories that Amazon is looking to bring in vendors for. And then a person in the Amazon team will review it. And then at that point, you might get an email saying that they want to invite you to Vendor Central. But it's a very difficult process. Generally speaking, you need the traction that I've seen them consider. You need month over month, more than 100% sales, 100% growth, sales growth, and year over year, more than 100% sales growth. So essentially, they want to see very aggressive growth of your company on their website, or it has to be very high sales revenue. So if you're starting to hit millions in revenue very quickly, that will also catch their attention. The only other way to really discuss this opportunity, because they won't, there's no way to really contact them about this, is if you attend any of the shows. I know with the pandemic, that's not really an option now, but generally speaking, Amazon does attend trade shows. So if you are able to determine which trade show they're going to be at, depending on the category of products, you can visit there, and then the Amazon team that's going to be on site for the trade show will generally be their Vendor Central team, as well as a couple of other members from the categories. But they're the people who are familiar with the Vendor Central, because that's usually why they attend the trade shows. So you might be able to strike up an opportunity for them to consider it that way. That's also a bit difficult, but right now those are the only two options that exist for Vendor Central. So you have an account set up, you either do a lot of sales and then hopefully down the line, maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years, you hear back, or after a year or so, you get to go to a trade show and make a pitch to essentially the Amazon team and hope that it catches their interest. So those are the two options that exist. So diving a bit more into Seller Central, these are the tools that I mentioned, as well as a guide. So the seller cost calculator is something on Amazon that Amazon provides. It gives you a rough idea of your profit margin based on the category. This will let you, determine how much referral fee is going to cost, and find out what kind of profit margin you'll have selling a certain type of product. And then the Amazon Beginner's Guide is essentially an Amazon guide that runs you through the entire process of selling on them. But the benefit is that it includes some details about how their referral fees work and how the other FBA features work, and it provides additional information that you can take a look at in an easy way to kind of figure out your plan for selling on Amazon. I wrote a note here, but if you remember early in the presentation, I did mention Amazon does now require UPC barcodes, and they do check. So you might be able to open a product early on, and then you might find a week or two later, Amazon has suspended the product. And the reason you'll see is they'll flag the barcode if it's not a GS1 UPC barcode specifically purchased by your company, they will flag that. So it is something that they are proactively searching. So it's something that they are pretty strict about now. So that's another consideration if you are planning to sell products on Seller Central. The only other alternative is that if you are selling as a official distributor of some other brand's products, you are allowed to use their UPCs, and you would have to write down that it's their brand, so you wouldn't be able to write your company as a brand. You would have to write that brand, and that brand would have to be brand registry on Amazon. So Amazon has a brand registry section where they want companies to have provide their trademark registration number to also be able to sell products. It has become a new requirement on Amazon. Um, you are able to use the term generic, but then you do need to make sure you have the GS1 barcode. Otherwise, if you try to sell any other brands, even if you are the official distributor, that brand needs to also be brand registered, which means have a trademark. So that is another consideration to take. So barcodes and trademarks are now something that Amazon proactively looks for. So for FBA, I put the FBA revenue calculator here. This is a very useful tool, and it continues to be useful. It's an official Amazon tool, but the advantage of this tool is that you can essentially look on Amazon, see if someone's selling a product that you plan to sell or is similar to a product you plan to sell, and you can copy the product name or the product ASIN, which is the Amazon seller identification number, stock identification number. Sorry, you can find that at towards the product details section. But if you copy that code and you paste it in the revenue calculator, the tool will actually give you an estimate of based on the selling price of that product, how much fees it pays and what's left, what kind of margin is left after all those fees are taken. So that it's an estimation, so you're not getting exact details, but the benefit is that you can essentially see what other people might be paying for selling a certain product, and if you're planning to sell that product, you'll know how much it will cost you ahead of time, and then you can make your plans accordingly. So it's a very useful tool to do the product planning and the pricing and the merchandising. And as long as there's someone else selling something that's similar-ish, you'll be able to use that person's listing to essentially get that relatively accurate but not exact estimate. So as I said, FBA is where you send bulk units to an Amazon operated warehouse. The advantage is that any items sent there will show as shipped by Amazon, sold by your company. And what it does is that anybody who has Prime, Amazon guarantees them a 2-day delivery. Of course, there are some exceptions there. Some people get 3 days. It depends a bit on the category and the product. But because Amazon is marking your product as Prime, so it'll have the Prime label on your listing, what it does is that it boosts your product visibility on their website. Because when it's a Prime labeled or Prime tagged listing, because you do FBA, Amazon algorithms kind of push that up a bit and increase the visibility, and that attracts customer attention. And if someone takes a filter and clicks only Prime items, it'll ensure that your product listing remains as an option for people to order from, instead of having it removed if someone starts filtering out the non-Prime listings. So I mentioned Vendor Central, but I also want to provide just a visual example of what it looks like. It's a bit simpler. It doesn't look the same as Seller because it's a separate platform. But essentially, the way it works is that in Vendor Central, it's Amazon will order a certain quantity of your product, and then you will ship it to their warehouses, and then the Amazon will sell it from there. So if you ever see any listing on Amazon that says ship and sold by Amazon, that means it's somebody providing it Vendor Central, because ship and sold by Amazon means that it is something that Amazon is purchasing as a wholesaler from a supplier and then selling it to customers. Amazon sets the selling price. You set a cost. So the way it works is that for example, you'll receive a purchase order from Amazon saying they want to purchase, let's say you're selling 10 items. They'll say we want to purchase 50 of each item, and then you'll have a total order of 500 items. And then Amazon will, you will charge Amazon the cost of that, of those products, so Amazon can purchase and sell on the website. Shipping is something you negotiate with them, but they do have terms where it's collect instead of prepaid. Collect advantage is that basically you have two options. One, Amazon pays the shipping, and then they take a percentage from the co-op. So it's like a referral fee, but they call it co-op here because it covers marketing, damage, and shipping. They take a percentage off the invoice of the balances, and then Amazon pays the shipping. So you just coordinate the actual. You notify Amazon that the products are ready to ship. Amazon sends the carrier. Carrier comes, picks it up from your location, and then it goes to Amazon, and then Amazon sells it. Um, the advantage of Vendor Central is that essentially it's more price competitive because Amazon's able to push a lower price because you're selling it to them on a cost basis. And another advantage is that Vendor Central people get access to certain levels of advertising first before the Seller Central do. So, for example, if you heard of enhanced content or enhanced marketing on Amazon Seller, I think they also still call it A plus there, where it has like the manufacturer details at the bottom. That originally used to be only a Vendor Central thing, and then once it was tested and perfected there, then they unfolded it out to Seller Central people. So Vendor Central companies tend to get early access to unique forms of advertising and marketing, and then later on they get passed on to Seller Central. So there's a lot of growth potential here, but like I said, it's difficult to get into. There is no application, it's invitation only. But if it's something that you decide you want to strive for, there is a strategy that you can set up for that and then follow that along to hopefully be able to hop into this level. But if it's not your focus and you aren't looking to move into like a wholesale thing, then there are ways to grow your Seller Central without having to jump into Vendor Central. So it depends on your strategy and which direction you want to move your business. So let's hop into eBay. eBay's popular e-commerce website too, not only because it has online listings, selling products, something Amazon does, but eBay also offers the ability to auction off products, which is something that a lot of people think of when they think of eBay. And eBay has a much larger assortment of goods. Amazon has been slowly building up to this level, but eBay still, is still the one that has a whole variety of products that people are selling. So they are very broad, a lot broader in categories. Their process is, their platform is a bit easier to create listings for, because the way that they have it set up is that they'll give you like the basic setup aspect for the listing, so like the basic information you can provide, and then you get charged to add on any other features that you want to use when creating the listings. So they'll give you a certain number of basic images you can upload, but then if you want to upload more images, you can pay to unlock that feature. So it's very customizable in that they give you something basic, and then you can add on whatever you think you need or remove it if you don't need it, and you just pay the relevant price for that. But one thing to note is that eBay is primarily B2C on the platform, and that's what their services are mostly focused on. And they do have a different new or used system than Amazon does. The way Amazon listings work is that regardless of whether an item is new or used, if it's the same item, every same item is on one listing. So it'll be one product page, and then all the different sellers will show up underneath it, whether it's new or used. The issue with that, it tends to be that people the Amazon has a buy box. So whenever you open a product, the first thing you will see is the buy box to add to cart, and that's whichever listing or offer, that's whichever offer Amazon has decided to make the main offer for that product. And then everybody else kind of gets put into a separate section that customers can go find, but it's not as intuitive. So they do have to actually be looking to see those options. On eBay, it's not necessarily like that. You will get to see separate offers immediately. So if I search up a product that I'm looking for, I can see 5 different listings of that same product, because there's certain people, 5 different used copies are being sold, but there's different prices and different people selling it. They do still have that dependency connection, so like similar products will show up and once you're looking at the details. But when you're searching for a product, you won't have one product page that you'll have to try to find where the offers are. eBay will show you those offers as a option to the customers. So that tends to be another distinction in their user experience. Um, so I have in the presentation, once you receive it, a link to their selling fees. Similar to Amazon, they have fees charged by categories, as well as a slightly different structure because of the way I mentioned how they have different features you can add and remove. So you'll be able to see all those fees. Um, I also put their quick start guide. This is something eBay created themselves that'll walk you through the process. I think the eBay account process is still a bit more simple than Amazon is, because eBay is all about hopping in and selling immediately. But they do have additional seller protections that you can pay for if you want. If you want, if you want to avoid situations where there's certain issues with customers, they offer that. So there's a bit of differences in the features, and the quick start guide and the selling fees link will kind of give that distinction there. So eBay is also a site that you can sell on. You just have to be cognizant that eBay is a bit different from how Amazon Marketplace is perceived, and there is no harm in selling on both. In fact, whatever marketplace you can get on, you are free to pursue that option. A lot of sellers will try to build up their online visibility in that method. So if it's a site you initially start with, you open a bunch of them, and you can decide whichever one you want to keep based on the sales. So if you're not selling on one but you're selling on another, you can either try to find out why, or if you can't find out why, or you did find out why but it didn't make a difference, you can decide to focus on, let's say maybe you're selling better on eBay than on Amazon. You might make eBay the main focus and stop doing business on the Amazon platform. So there's a lot of different strategies, but generally I recommend that you give them a try as long as you sell the relevant products, and see which one is working, and then use that feedback and that data to perfect your plan, your strategy. And then finally there'll come a time where you get to decide, see review which marketplace is doing good business, which isn't doing any good business, and which one you might be considering cutting out, so you can make more focus on the one that's actually doing good business. Now, Walmart has a marketplace too. There are no monthly fees. There is an application process, but it's not very complex or time consuming. I think it's 4 or 5 parts. And it's basic information where you give your company information, your categories, the last for your website. But essentially, it's a very straightforward process. You usually get the account open within a day or two. Some categories, they'll take a bit more time to review, but it's very straightforward process to set up a marketplace account. Um, Walmart is growing out its categories, and they are focusing on certain categories to enhance them and maybe consider bringing them in as vendors. But another new thing to note with Walmart is that there's now a Walmart fulfillment. They're rolling it out slowly. So right now, even if you create an account or you already have a Walmart marketplace, you can apply to their Walmart fulfillment service, and then you'll hear back from them once the program has fully launched. I think right now they're doing like early testing. Um, but they are rolling that out, and they are continuing to build up their competition with Amazon. So and their platform is being updated. So if you sell on Amazon, there really isn't any reason you wouldn't be selling on Walmart, simply because they're one, they're competing with each other as business, so they are trying to boost the traffic they're getting, which benefits you because you get access to both their traffic. And two is that there isn't too much difference between their models and their way they approach. So if you know one, you'll start knowing the other, and you'll be comfortable doing both. The only major absence with Walmart compared to Amazon is that Walmart doesn't have a built-in shipping process. Whereas Amazon, you can actually buy labels directly from Amazon. With Walmart, you need, if you want something like that, you need to connect, do an API integration with a shipping provider. So the companies I mentioned for shipping and labeling, which was ShipStation or Stamps. I should note that they're both the same company. Stamps is their USPS section, and ShipStation is their general all marketplace labels, and they do incorporate stamps into that as well. If you're doing USPS, but essentially, if you want to do that, I mean, ShipStation does have integration with Walmart, so it's very quick and easy process. But that's a major distinction in that on Walmart you need to make an integration, whereas on Amazon already offers you that service by default. Outside of that, they're more or less pretty much the same, and on the approach, the logic. Walmart is updating its advertising as well, so right now there isn't too much in the advertising end. It's all about giving the best prices, and that's what usually Walmart customers come in for. Usually, what happens is that they'll look at Amazon, and then they'll go to Walmart and try to see if there's an item there with a good deal. Sometimes Walmart might offer better, better shipping, better pricing, better returns. There's a lot of distinctions there, but customers are now, comparing between the two websites. And if you're on both of them, the benefit to you is that you get both that traffic. And like I said, the Walmart process is relatively simple to set up with. So there isn't any reason you wouldn't consider it, unless it might be a category that maybe Amazon has more built up and Walmart doesn't have yet. Because like I said, Walmart's still improving in that regard. But more or less, if you're on Amazon, there isn't really any reason you shouldn't be on Walmart. This is an image of the marketplace, but I should note that they have made some updates to it. It still looks similar, but if you go now, it'll look a bit different. There'll be a few more on the left-hand side, a few more options, and it'll look a little bit neater. But overall, the core of it looks the same. Very straightforward platform. It doesn't have as many tabs as the Amazon one does. They're a bit more constrained with the data they provide for the reports. They're a bit more straightforward, but more or less very simple process to use, similar to Amazon's process. If you've ever seen Amazon's catalog, Walmart's catalog almost looks the same. The way it works is that if you're using marketplace, it'll be the same as where Amazon is, where it'll be showing ship and sold by you or your company. And like I said, now they have a fulfillment service. My assumption is that it'll say shipped by Walmart, sold by you, since they'll probably copy the way that Amazon has written down. They do charge a referral fee by category. That's something that almost all marketplaces do. But like I said, the advantage is that you're not paying a monthly fee. So for some people, that can actually make a pretty big difference, because you're not paying that 40 a month just to have the ability to sell. You're only paying a fee based on the category, and that's taken off the sale price when you sell on Walmart. So I also have the link here, both to their fulfillment service, so you can read more about it, as well as the link to sell on their marketplace. So it'll take you to the page where you can submit the application. Now, Walmart also has a DSV, and you can apply for this. Unlike Amazon, where there's no application for Vendor Central, Walmart dropship vendor, what the DSV means, there is a separate application that you can actually submit and try to become a supplier for. Um, it does take longer, obviously, because a buyer has to review it, and it also depends on whether it's a category they feel like bringing in or integrating. Usually, the way the logic works here is that if it's a certain category that they don't have enough suppliers on, and you can actually check by searching their website for the categories of products and seeing how many different types of categories and brands are being sold. If they feel like it's something that they need more suppliers for, or it's a category that they're focusing on, you will likely hear back from a buyer sooner than later. But if it's not something that's priority yet, they'll receive your application, and then it'll remain pending until a buyer takes a look at it and decides now is the time they want to invite you. There is a bit more information you provide in the application, because since it's a business relation, they do your products. They want to learn more about your business. They want to learn more of your products. They want to take a look at your costs. You are giving to them on a cost basis, not a listing price sales basis. So you give them a cost and an MSRP. Um, what happens here is that Walmart pays for the shipping, and they handle customer service. Amazon, Vendor Central, and FBA also handle customer service. But what I mentioned in Amazon Vendor Central, where you negotiate the shipping, right now Walmart still by default pays for the shipping, unless for some reason it's a category they don't. But the default term is that they pay for the shipping. Um, and another distinction from Vendor Central right now is that Walmart doesn't purchase in bulk. The way it works is that Walmart has you list the product, and then it says ship and sold by Walmart.com, and then you drop ship to them the way I mentioned with Home Depot customers, and then Walmart pays you the cost on that, minus any fees. Um, you do stay in constant contact with a buyer in that category. So you will usually have about, depending on how many categories you have, each category will have about one or two people that you will be in generally occasional communication, maybe once a month or once every 2 weeks. Depends on how much business traction you have going. But you are going to have communications, and you need to maintain communications. So that's another thing about the supplier vendor relationship. You do need to be in relatively constant contact with your buyer or your account manager or your partner contact. You need to be reaching out to them to talk about how you can make the business grow, learn more about promotions, find out feedback from them, any data they can give you. So there is that additional component, or you just need to make sure you're staying in touch, because that's another way to grow the business. They need to, trust your business, and to do that, you need to communicate with them. They're not just going to go off of the sales data like on the marketplace. They want to know your business and know you, and have that trust in that business relationship to be able to continue growing. I put the link here for becoming a Walmart supplier as well, because like I said, it's a separate application. So technically speaking, you can apply to both applications at the same time. But you'll probably get the marketplace one resolved first, because like I said, the supplier one takes time, unless you're offering something that they're very interested in, and as soon as they see it, they immediately reach out to you. So if you think you want to try pursuing a vendor relationship with Walmart and become a supplier to Walmart, and have the products sold online as sold by Walmart, that is an option that you can apply to as well, while you're applying to their marketplace. Now, before we hop into more of the non-marketplace and the self-hosted sites, I want to bring up something here called Range Me. They're not a retailer; they're a supplier hub, which is basically an online platform where suppliers create accounts and showcase their brands and products to buyers who shop there for their respective retailers. The reason I bring it up normally is because this is optional. You don't have to do this, unless you want to pursue that venue. A bit of You can consider it more as like a marketing investment, because there's no guarantees. But what happens is that there is a free account that'll let you navigate the platform, put in a few products. They'll limit you to, I think it's still 5 products, so you can showcase your best ones if you have more than 5. And then what happens is that the free feature allows you to pitch free to a featured retailer for that month or that quarter. Um, but if you want to pitch to other buyers and other retailers, you have to pay an annual fee to have that option. But the reason I bring this up, and I say it's optional, but there's some exceptions there, is that there are some retailers out there who exclusively use this specific company, Arrange Me, to find their suppliers. So you won't be able to apply to the retailer directly. Some retailers have that option, like I mentioned, Walmart, you apply to them directly. But the example I want to give here is Target. If you go to Target and you try to find out how you can become a supplier to them, they redirect you to Range Me, and then they want you to set up on here and then pitch to them from this Range Me platform. So I put a link here with all the partners that this company has, this platform has. Um, these companies tend to exclusively make it from Range Me. A lot of them are pharmaceutical, grocery, and convenience store companies. but there's a few like supplements. There's BJ's, there's Target. So if you are trying to pursue these companies, and you're trying to figure out where do I apply to become a supplier, um, they're going to probably make you come here and set up on this platform to be able to pitch to them. It's something that I personally find uh, a bit of an effort, because I usually like it when a retailer also has an option where you can contact them directly. But some retailers don't want to have a buyer department set aside time for reviewing applications. So what they'll do is they'll have people put it into like a platform where the buyer is at their own convenience able to search through and take their own pick. So there is situations like that in the e-commerce environment and the marketplaces. And this is just so you have an idea that if you are trying to set up with any of these companies, you'll find that they want you to go to this platform and then do it from there. So this is something to have in mind if your strategy involves targeting any of these companies or any of them listed in the link that I provided. Now, going into the non-marketplace sellers, retailers, Home Depot, I mentioned a few times, but you know what Home Depot sells: home decor, building materials, lawn and garden. You have an option to apply to become a wholesaler, a supplier. You'll go through the application process. If a buyer is interested, they'll respond back to you with some terms and agreement and an application. What they like to do is that they respond first with they want to get the price list from you for the products and a bit of product information, because then they take that, they do their calculations, they determine if they'll make a good profit off of it. They run their math, and if they like the information and they don't want to negotiate the prices, they'll come back to you. They'll let you know what the feedback is, and then if you say, if they say, we are willing to move forward with you, then you can give your consent as well to move forward, and then they'll send over all the agreements and paperwork, and they'll give you an person who will help you through the process, because it is a bit of a process, but you will have somebody specific, an actual person helping you through the process. So Home Depot is supplier only, and they do have an entire process, and I put the link here so you can apply to that. Usually what they look for is the same logic. Are you offering a product at a better price, or are you offering a product in a category that doesn't have enough choices, because they want to be able to put those options to their customers. Now, going into House, they are technically like a wholesaler, but also kind of a marketing website. You're able to provide your products and professional services here for housing related matters. So services include paint, interior design, and products involve any products, furniture and maybe building materials if it's a contractor or interior designer looking for those products. Any kind of decorative stuff too for the inside of the house. The reason that it's interesting is that technically you're able to link your website here too, and essentially market your website through their platform by listing your products on their platform and having a link to your website where people will actually be able to buy it. So I kind of consider Houzz as kind of like a hybrid between a e-commerce platform and a marketing platform for a specific category. So if you're not in this category, it's not going to help. But there are websites like this that have that kind of hybrid model. And it's an application process, but it's pretty straightforward. Now, Etsy is one that I want to bring up because this is for unique products, vintage, custom, handmade. The way that this one works is Etsy is specifically made for these kind of products, customizable, vintage, homemade, craft. They even have people sell craft supplies on them. So if you're selling any kind of products that fit in these categories and you're looking for a site that's built around those features, right now Etsy is the most prominent one for that. They have same thing: listing fee, transaction fee, advertising fees. And then there is an optional monthly account that you can subscribe to. But right now, Etsy is most prominent for these, for anyone who is selling craft handmade. Amazon has a section for handmade as well. It is being developed out, so you can search for that and take a look at that. But Etsy right now is, the prominent brand that receives traffic for people looking for, to get customizable products. So I wanted to bring them up as well if you're planning to sell anything that's craft or hand homemade or customized or vintage. Etsy provides the most tools for those kind of sellers. Wayfair is home goods, decorative products, furniture. Um, they're a bit of a hybrid in that they work the wholesale model, but they behave a bit more like a seller marketplace. So there is an application process, and you do receive a buyer, and you do sell products at wholesale to Wayfair, but you manage your products as if you're a seller on the website. So it's a bit interesting, but if you are selling anything in this category, Wayfair is an option that you can apply to and sell on their website. They're relatively easy to work with, and they have how should I say? It's like the seller marketplace experience, but on a supplier model. So it's in the middle if if that's something that you're looking for, where you want to be able to self-manage your listings and your catalog, but also have the advantage of selling at a cost rather than a price, and having a buyer in the category whom you can speak with to get data and work with to build up your sales on their website and build your business. So this is an option, but like I said, it's for specific categories of products, not applicable to every category. Um, Overstock is the similar realm, where they're very focused on home decor and furniture, but they do actually have a lot of other categories. That's not their priority, but they do have the option, whereas Wayfair doesn't have the option. So you'll actually find people selling desktop PCs, usually because it's something that they had a excess inventory of, and they're trying to offload it. In fact, that's where the Overstock name came from. They pretty much want to be a marketplace where people can sell off any bulk inventory and any overstock inventory, and sell it off at a discount while still keeping a profit margin. So they're very focused on promotions and discounts. A lot of things on their website are built off of running promotions. As you can see here, for example, you know this rug company is running 15% off, and select area rugs. So it's very focused on sales promotions. And while they, like I said, they are focused on specific categories, you will find different categories do pop up on this website too. Like I said, it's not their priority, it's not their main focus, but unlike Wayfair, you do have that option at least open if you want to give it a try and see if you might at least get some sales going from there. This also has an application process, but once you're approved, you become considered a partner, and you get a partner contact who you will be able to speak to, similar to how Wayfair works, where you have a buyer you are able to speak to discuss business activities. Now we get to self-hosted. I have three services listed here, but essentially the prominent one is Shopify. A lot of people hear about Shopify, and they are advertised prominently. So Shopify lets you build a e-commerce website, which they host on Shopify's servers, and then they give you templates that you can use, as well as additional services that you need to run an e-commerce website, which is inventory management and transactions, being able to charge for people to purchase the products from your website. They have different templates or different types of products and services. The templates are customizable too, using Shopify's own builder. The way it works is that Shopify charges a fee, a monthly fee with different features and different services. So I did link that here so you can take a look at it. So they'll have like a basic version that'll have the most basic services, and then they'll have higher tier ones where maybe you're having a lot of sales volume or a lot of traffic to your website. I will note that Shopify tends to get more expensive as you scale up. But if you are starting off and you're not sure if there's going to be a lot of sales on your website, and you want something very easy, Shopify can fill that in and help you out with setting up quickly. So that's one reason that's very popular. If you are looking for a bit more flexibility, there's stuff like WooCommerce and BigCommerce, which we'll get to next. WooCommerce is similar to Shopify in the sense that WooCommerce itself provides the services you need to do e-commerce, but it differs because the way WooCommerce works is that it's a plugin. So it doesn't host a website or anything. It doesn't have its own website builder. You build a website out usually on WordPress, which is the website builder that you host on whatever host you want to use. You can use WordPress as well, Bluehost, DigitalOcean. There's a lot of different hosting companies, but all of them will have WordPress hosting. So what happens is that if you are building a website and you want to build it with WordPress and use WordPress as your website builder, you would get that option, set that up that WordPress, and then you would install WooCommerce on your WordPress, and then WooCommerce will convert your WordPress website into an e-commerce by giving you the tools you need to make your WordPress into an e-commerce website. WooCommerce isn't the only one, but they are the most prominent because of their partnership with WordPress. So they're the most integrated with the WordPress infrastructure. It has more flexibility because WordPress gives you more flexibility in terms of building your website. But the downside is that WordPress is a bit more complicated than, say, using like a Shopify's built-in website builder. So you have to learn how to use WordPress, or you have to hire a developer who will build it out for you. So it's a bit more technical, but the advantage is that it's fully customizable, whereas Shopify has limits on how you can customize a website. So if you are planning in the future to um, or if you are right now planning on a website that's a bit more complicated, where you're planning to integrate different things, maybe you want to have the e-commerce section, but you also plan on doing something about your company, maybe providing services, and also including additional information and anything you want to incorporate. The advantage of WordPress is that you have access to a lot more plugins, so you can build out those integrations, those setups. Shopify is limited in that regard, but if you are looking to just build a website where you will sell products, you don't want too much complications, Shopify will be the easier option for you. And then in the future, when you have enough revenue that scaling up seems to be a cost, then you can come back and consider maybe moving your Shopify to a WooCommerce setup on WordPress, to kind of mitigate some of the costs that come in when you scale up. And then we have BigCommerce, which is similar to WooCommerce, but what they're less they're a little closer to Shopify in terms of giving you the that building capacity, and setting up an e-commerce website. So I wouldn't say it sits between WooCommerce and Shopify, because it's definitely in the category of where WooCommerce is. But they recognize that setting up WooCommerce on WordPress is a bit complicated, so BigCommerce tries to help ease that complexity. There are some pricing differences that you can take a look at, but if you feel like you want to give BigCommerce a try because it sounds less complex, you are able to go ahead and take a look at that. But if you decide you just want to, you want something very easy, you can look at Shopify. These aren't the only companies out there, but they are the prominent ones. So that's why I want to just bring them up, because these are the ones that you'll probably hear about often. And these are the three types that you will often see, because other companies will tend to be variations of this. So it's good to know those different options you have. Now, those aren't everything I listed here is just kind of a primer. There are a lot of marketplaces out there and a lot of retailers. Actually, there are and there aren't. Companies are continuing to build out their e-commerce capabilities, so some retailers aren't there yet. But there are a lot of different categories of retailers that do have e-commerce capabilities. Newegg is for electronics and computers. Zulily is an interesting site where it's similar to Wayfair in that it focuses on specific types of products, but the way they do it is that they run campaigns. So you don't constantly have your item listed. You participate in campaigns that they run in certain categories, and then they advertise this out to get sales during that promotion period. And then outside of that period, you're not selling the products on the site. Tractor Supply, home improvement, agriculture, livestock. If you're in any of those categories, Tractor Supply has an application process. Kroger has an application product if you want to do produce groceries. Chewy for pet food, pet supplies. I wrote Alibaba here, but it's technically their AliExpress site. It is limited to certain countries. countries. So the reason I put it here is a lot of people source from sites like Alibaba and AliExpress, or they purchase from there. So you can take a look and see, or you're probably familiar with it, but a lot of people shop there to source for products. And if you're in a certain country where this is open for selling from, then you can take advantage of that. And then Rakuten is here too. They've changed their business model over the last few years, so they're a bit more similar to Zulily in that they run more of marketing campaigns where they sell the products during those promotions rather than continually. In Japan, I think they still sell on like a regular e-commerce, but in the US, the way I've seen it is that they run affiliate marketing. So you put products in there, or if you have products existing on the websites that they partner with, they advertise it, and then people can go and or buy it, and then Rakuten gets an affiliate commission, and then the seller sells to whoever is buying it. So they're not necessarily like a regular marketplace platform. They're more of a platform that runs campaigns for certain categories. So there are some unique companies like that, but not there are very few of those. Most of them are usually right now retailers who have been adopting e-commerce capabilities, and you are able to apply to these companies as a supplier to start selling with them if you are selling certain categories of products that they're looking for. And this list will continue to slowly grow as more companies develop these capabilities. But right now, these are the prominent ones, and you can always search to see if there's any retailer who has opened up for becoming an e-commerce supplier as well, whether you want to sell a certain niche category or you want to sell internationally. So let's take a look at the questions and answer. So we'll start about the question about Sears or Target. So like I said, Target, it is a supplier model, and I assume Sears is a supplier model too, because I haven't seen them set up a marketplace aspect. So essentially you become a supplier with them. Unfortunately with Target, they have pretty much built around that Range Me platform. So you can't even contact them directly unless you have somebody who can directly refer you to a person in Target buyer team, or if you catch them at any kind of trade show or events that they might show up at. Um, Otherwise, Target right now, if you go to see about their website to see how you can become a supplier, they link you to RangeMe and they tell you to go make a platform there and put your products there. If you're selling a product that doesn't have a UPC barcode like diamond jewelry, that fits the aspect I said where there are exemptions. So you are able to, on like Amazon, for example, you are able to request an exemption from having a barcode, and then you explain the exemption by saying that you are in a category where UPCs don't make sense. In this case, diamond jewelry, that it doesn't make sense to have the UPC there. If it's something custom, if it's something handmade, if it's something craft, or even vintage, it doesn't really make sense. So you are able to request exemptions from having a barcode from whatever marketplace or retailer requests it, and they generally will grant it if it is in a category that they understand to be exempt. How much does Walmart charge for fulfillment? Unfortunately, I can't answer that right now. I have been trying to get more information myself, but like I said, it's an early testing stage, and not many people have been set up with it. So the information hasn't been released per se. You are able to check out the link I provided where they provide some information. My assumption is that you will probably be paying for shipping to their warehouse. Um, and then their pick and pack and those fees will probably be similar to how Amazon does it, and the referral fee will stay the same. So you'll probably be paying shipping, and there'll probably be a modest, modest pick and pack, because pick and pack doesn't really cost too much. It's not the most expensive aspect, unless it's some unwieldy large, like if it's something big, then you will obviously be paying a bit more, because anything that's the way I'll say is anything above 50 pounds, because that's when the team carry kicks in for the safety requirements. Anything above 50 pounds that's large, you'll start seeing increase in the pick and pack fees and storage fees. But if it's a regular product, pick and pack won't be too expensive. Your biggest cost will generally just be the cost of you shipping the number of units to the warehouse. And I assume Walmart's charge will be the same, and they'll also have the same pick and pack on there. Um, if anything gets updated, I generally try to keep track of it. But right now, I haven't had the direct primary experience with their system, nor have I seen how their system is set up, because they're still building it out, and it's still in a bit of an early stage. But like I said, if you do apply for it, you might get, and if you create a Walmart account and you apply for it, you might get a chance to hear back earlier than before they launch to everybody. And at that point, you'll be able to actually see the details of the program. Are UPC barcodes required for used items? It depends on the used item. Right now, Amazon, for example, kind of requires UPCs for everything, unless you are able to exempt it. So if it's a used item that has a barcode on it, they'll want to see it on the when you're creating it. One reason they do that is because they want to connect that item with the actual listing. So they usually use the barcodes to make that connection. But if it's a used item that for some reason you can't verify the barcodes, or it's like an item that didn't have a barcode, you would be able to contact their support team to request exemptions, and they'll consider it on a case-by-case basis. So exemptions aren't a broad paintbrush. It's a case-by-case scenario. So you are able to you'll need to be like, oh, my product's not in this category. I can't, I have to have it. If you are selling a used item that you're not 100% sure makes sense to have a barcode, you can contact support and then tell them what the situation is, and they'll logically come to the conclusion that it doesn't make sense to have a barcode on there. Otherwise, if it's a used item that does have a barcode on it, Amazon will prefer to see that barcode written down as the barcode when you're adding that used item as a product. And then for the question in chat, I'm going to type it too, but essentially it's ShipStation and Stamps. And like I said, ShipStation and Stamps are the same company. The difference is ShipStation is their section where they integrate with a lot of sellers, and Stamps is where they integrate as well, but Stamps is exclusively USPS. So it's a brand of the company that owns ShipStation. So if you're only doing USPS, you would probably use Stamps, but I generally recommend that if you're going to be doing shipping and you're looking for a platform, look around. You'll find ShipStation as an option. There's a lot of other options that you can look at as well. What you want to look at is if they can give you good rates and how much they charge every month, and how many companies they can integrate with, because integration is important. Because if you can't integrate with the marketplace you're using or the retailer you're using, what's going to happen is you're going to have to manually enter in the orders to create those labels that you need. Is there a service that tracks records and remits sales tax to different states? There are different services out there. Nothing directly comes to mind. I know Intuit has services and apps that would fit in that regard, and they tend to be the one that gets most advertised. So Intuit's services, the company that makes QuickBook, they might have, but I would recommend searching, because there's the reason I recommend that is some companies are more what you want to do is whenever you're looking for a service and you're specifically doing e-commerce, I strongly recommend a company that can show that they have familiarity with e-commerce, because like I said, there are a lot of companies that can track, record, and remit sales tax, and like nothing comes directly to mind right now, but if you are going to be searching for that, just make sure that you use like the keyword of e-commerce, simply because if you're working with a company that's familiar with doing e-commerce aspects of that sales tax, because I know the laws of that changed recently, not recently, a couple of months ago, with how the sales tax work now. So that's important. You'll want to make sure that they're cognizant of how the e-commerce environment works in that regard, and then also find out how much it's going to cost you to use their services. So I can't get anything off the top of my head right now, but I do recommend that if you do search for them, make sure that it is somebody who has familiarity with the e-commerce environment and e-commerce marketplaces. It'll be less of a headache using their services going into the future. Okay. Any other questions?
We do have a few more minutes left, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Okay, so if not, I want to thank you so much, Ahmet, for this informative presentation and for your time today. Before we wrap up, I just want to redirect you all to the chat. There you will find some of our upcoming events, the link to our Eventbrite page, and as well as the link to our website so that you can register for any events that we have upcoming. So let me just share my screen again so we can see the contact information. Okay, so on the screen, you should see our email as well as our website where you can request one-on-one consultation. I also want to remind you that we will be sending out the video replay as well as the presentation slides within 24 to 48 hours so that you can refer back to this information in the future. After this webinar in the browser, you will see a survey pop up. I would really appreciate it if you can just take a few minutes to complete that. That survey really helps us just to adjust our presentations as well as give us some type of information on what kind of assistance you're needing. So if you have time to complete that, your feedback is much appreciated. And on that note, we will now end this webinar. I want to thank all of you for coming out. Thank you for taking the time to attend, to participate, and for your questions. And we look forward to seeing you at our future webinars. Have a great day, everyone.